Olympic, Titanic's big sister, is often described as the only civilian ship to sink a submarine in the First World War. It's a brilliant story. It's dramatic, it's simple, but it quietly erases at least 3 other ships and a submarine wreck that I've dived myself. In this video, we're going to dig into Admiralty files, German U-boat records and modern wreck evidence, and rebuild the real list of civilian ships that sunk submarines in World War I. By the end, you'll see why Olympic was unique, but absolutely not alone. To understand where the myth comes from, we need the big picture. In World War I, German U-boats were deadly and sank vast numbers of ships. They also took heavy losses, but usually not to merchant vessels. Most U-boats that never came home were lost to mines, depth charges and purpose-built naval vessels, destroyers, sloops, patrol craft, even sometimes vessels disguised as merchants that carried concealed guns. Civilian and merchant ships weren't designed as U-boat hunters. They were cargo carriers, colliers, ocean liners, coastal steamers, often unarmed or lightly armed with obsolete weapons, and usually they were on the receiving end of an attack. So when a civilian ship does defeat a submarine, it really stands out. And when that ship is RMS Olympic, sister to Titanic, the story takes on a life all of its own. Somewhere along the way, only ocean liner turned into only civilian ship. What we're going to do is reconstruct a few of these encounters. We're going to cross-check British claims with German records, and when we can, bring in the wrecks themselves. Once we do that, the only civilian ship version simply doesn't survive. Our first forgotten U-boat killer isn't glamorous at all. The SS British Transport was a hard-working British steamer of just over 4,000 tonnes. On the other side of this story is U-49, commanded by Captain Lieutenant Richard Harman, a very successful U-boat captain, credited with 39 ships and over 86,000 tonnes. The submarine sailed with another one on 30th of August 1917. By the morning of 11 September, it's on station in the Bay of Biscay and doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It torpedoes and sinks the British steamer Vienna, and the master is taken prisoner and brought aboard U-49. Several hours later, U-49 comes across another target, another steamer, another ordinary vessel, the British Transport, under Master Alfred Pope. At about 1600 hours, the submarine surfaces a mere 50 yards from the steamer. That's point-blank range. British Transport was armed, and the gun crew scrambled to their 4.7-inch gun. But U-49 dived just before they could get a shot away. A few minutes later, U-49 surfaces several miles away. Now both ships open fire, but the gunfire is ineffective on both sides. At some point during this engagement, the British Transport loses visual contact with the U-boat. U-49 hasn't gone away, it wants another victim. 4 hours later, just before 2100 hours, 2 torpedoes streak past British Transport and narrowly miss. That tells us U-49 has been tracking her, trying to get into a killing position. Then comes the moment described in the Admiralty's reported destruction of submarines report. At about 9:20, the crew of British Transport see a luminous patch of disturbed water on the port bow. The ship is turned towards it. As they close, the shape of a submarine becomes visible under the surface. The collision is brutal. Everyone on board feels the heavy slam as the bow impacts into the U-boat, followed by some horrendous grinding noises that last a couple of seconds. The ship's speed drops perceptibly under the impact. As British transport passes over, officers on the deck see the submarine's bow briefly clear of the port bow of the British transport. It lifts out of the water, and a hatch between the foremost gun and the conning tower is seen to open, and men begin to emerge. They hear shouting from the submarine. The British transport doesn't know for certain, doesn't know what's happening, so the crew fire 2 rounds at very close range. The second round is believed to be a hit. They see flame and spark on the targets. And then nothing else. When the British transport finally reaches port, examination of the side of the hull reveals scratches and scoring on the plating, consistent with striking a hard metal object. That's not the sort of marks you get from your own anchor or from a cable. From the British side, this looks and feels like a kill. From the German side, U-49 simply vanishes. U-49 never makes another report after sinking Vienna. She doesn't sink any more ships. There's nothing else heard from her within a patrol area, and no other plausible cause presents itself. Her assigned patrol line, the time of Vienna's loss, the long pursuit of British transport, the torpedo attack and the ramming at 9:20 p.m, those line up perfectly. Modern analysts rate this as a very probable loss. The history books record that U-49 was rammed and sunk by the steamer SS British Transport on the 11th of September 1917. With that collision, Germany loses one of its most experienced U-boat commanders. Hartmann and his entire veteran crew go down with the boat. And the British have a solid case of a civilian steamer taking the fight to a U-boat and winning. British Transport's master, Alfred Pope, is awarded the DSO, the Distinguished Service Order. His chief and second officers and the chief engineer receive the DSC, the Distinguished Service Cross. Months before Olympic meets U-103, a completely ordinary merchant steamer has already hunted down, well, maybe not hunted down, certainly rammed a U-boat after surviving a torpedo ambush. A civilian ship with a largely civilian crew scoring a very real kill. Already, the only civilian ship claimed for Olympic doesn't hold up. Now to the famous one, RMS Olympic, the first of the Olympic class liners, sister to Titanic and Britannic. In peacetime, she's the epitome of luxury. Panelled lounges, grand staircases, silver service in the dining saloon. War strips that all away. She's requisitioned as a troopship. The fine woodwork is covered over or removed. The carpets go. Cabins are converted into troop dormitories, and her white hull turned into a dazzle-painted, gun-armed giant. She receives several 6-inch guns and smaller weapons, and later in the war she even carries depth charges. Underneath all of that, she's still an ocean liner, built for speed and comfort. She's not a warship. By 1918, though, she's a veteran. She's made dozens of Atlantic crossings, carrying thousands of Allied troops, dodging mines and U-boats, occasionally sighting periscopes and getting the odd torpedo scare. On 12th of May 1918, she's in the English Channel, heading east with American troops on board. A prime, high-value target. She's part of a wider system of escorted convoys. She's zigzagging to make life harder for U-boats. Lurking ahead, though, is U-103, a German submarine on patrol, looking for exactly this kind of prize. The captain of U-103 lines up for a torpedo attack from a favourable angle. Things don't go to plan. The accounts differ slightly on the exact sequence, but the core is generally consistent. The lookouts on Olympic's bridge and up in the crow's nest spot the submarine. They either see the periscope, the hull just awash, or the track of a failed torpedo. But in that moment, the captain and his officers make the same instinctive choice as the British transport. They go for the attack. Olympic guns open up, shell splashes bracket the U-boat, forcing her captain into an immediate decision. Does he dive and break off or press the attack? The ideal textbook firing position is gone. Then comes the turn. A ship over 45,000 gross tons turns to swing towards the U-boat. It's impossible to imagine what it must have been like on U-103's bridge or in the conning tower at this moment. What had been a giant silhouette, a distant target, is now a rapidly growing wall of steel. The bow wave is foaming, the guns firing. The collision happens at around 7 or 8 knots, not full speed, but with the kind of mass that Olympic has, it doesn't need to be. The port side of Olympic strikes a submarine. Her huge propellers and the curve of her hull tear into the pressure hull of U-103. The German boat is fatally holed. She sinks, and the surviving crew abandon ship. U-103 never returns from the patrol. German records accept the loss, and the timing and location match Olympic's report. Allied destroyers later pick up survivors. So this isn't a disputed fog of war maybe, it's a confirmed kill. Olympic, though, isn't unscathed. Her hull plates are dented, parts of the bow structure are twisted. She needs repairs in dock before she can resume service. But she has just done something no other ocean liner has ever done, or ever will do. She has deliberately rammed and sunk a submarine. The story spreads quickly. There are cheering troops on the deck. There's press coverage. And later on, there's even a commemorative plaque. The captain is decorated, and Olympic's wartime image shifts from this luxury ship turned workhorse to U-boat killer. And that is where the myth begins. Over time, only ocean liner to sink a U-boat, which is true, mutates into only civilian ship to sink a U-boat, which we've already seen is false. British transport gets lost from the story. Maybe it doesn't have the glamour. It doesn't have the Titanic connection. It doesn't have the big ship drama. So part of what we're doing here is simply putting Olympic back into her proper context. She's absolutely unique as an ocean liner that sank a submarine, but she's one of only several civilian or merchant vessels that achieved the same feat. Once you recognise that, the whole narrative of helpless merchants versus all-powerful U-boats becomes a little bit more complicated. British transport wasn't even the first. Months earlier, another civilian vessel had already claimed a U-boat. On the 21st of May 1917, the French steamer Molière was sailing in convoy a few miles north of Ushant. That's the western gateway to the English Channel. It's a busy, dangerous choke point and a favourite hunting ground for submarines. A submarine had already torpedoed one ship from the convoy in which the Molière was travelling, and was trying to cross between the two columns to fire again, likely using a stern torpedo. Molière was slightly out of line and sighted a periscope just ahead. It altered course and rammed. There was a heavy shock. A torpedo was seen running harmlessly past another steamer in the convoy. A rush of bubbles broke the surface, and then nothing else. Molière limped back to Brest with a large hole and several dents in her bow. For years, modern sources credited her with sinking UB-36. But when you dig into patrol orders, positions, and the sequence of sinkings, that doesn't add up. UB-36 was lost, but it should have been home by then. Instead, the pattern of ships sunk and the way the attack unfolded point to a different boat, and a different type of boat. UC-36 was a UC-2 mine layer with a stern torpedo, exactly the sort of manoeuvre described in the Molière reports. There are no unexplained sinkings in UC-36 patrol area after this ramming. Put simply, Molière, a French civilian steamer in a convoy, almost certainly finished her. So we've already heard of 2 rammings before Olympic, but there was another. The 4th confirmed case is SS Queen Alexandra and the German mine layer UC-78. This was another type UC-2 mine-laying submarine. It sailed from Ostend at 4:40 a.m. on the 2nd of May 1918, with orders to lay mines off Bologna and Newhaven, and then operate against shipping in the eastern and central English Channel. We know she reached her patrol area. The French found a fresh minefield off Bologna on the 4th of May, and the Royal Navy swept up 7 mines off Newhaven on the 8th of May. After that, she disappears. In the early hours of 9th of May 1918, 3 days before Olympic's encounter with U-103, the SS Queen Alexandra is at sea in the Channel under Captain Angus Keith, escorted by the patrol vessel P-33. At 12:45 a.m. British time, lookouts spot a submarine close under the bow. The Queen Alexandra goes for it, ramming at full speed. P-33 also sights the submarine and hears the collision. It searches briefly, drops a buoy to mark the spot, and returns at 4:30 a.m. By then, there's a large patch of oil and acid stretching for about 7 miles down tide. Classic signs of a submarine broken open. The ramming position sits squarely inside UC-78's assigned patrol area. Now, the Royal Navy initially believed the victim was UB-78, but that boat had already been mined off Folkestone in April. Once you fix that error, UC-78 is the only candidate. From the German side, UC-78 never reports back from this patrol. All 29 crew are listed as lost. Once again, you put together the evidence, the patrol orders, the minefields off Bologna and Newhaven, the time and place of the collision, and UB-78's earlier loss. Modern analysts rate it as very probable that Queen Alexandra rammed and sank UC-78 in the early hours of 9th of May 1918. So, even before Olympic drives her bow into U-103, another civilian steamer has already destroyed a U-boat in the Channel, using the only real weapon she had, her own hull. By mid-1918, the confirmed record looks like this. SS Molière rammed and sunk UC-36 in May 1917. SS British Transport rammed and sank U-49 in September 1917. And Queen Alexandra, 3 days before Olympic, almost certainly did the same to UC-78. Olympic rams and sinks U-103 in May 1918. 4 different civilian or merchant ships, 4 U-boats destroyed. Yet the popular story only remembers the famous liner. Things get even more interesting when we look at some of the claims and look at wrecks themselves. One long-standing one is that the merchant ship SS Braenil rammed a submarine off the Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall. The Admiralty was sceptical at the time. Braenil didn't get official credit, her crew didn't get the prize money. But you're looking at the wreck of that submarine now. This is U-95. The Gasparado's team dived to 75 metres, scrubbed the props and confirmed the identity. Other members of the team filmed significant damage to the pressure hull forward of the conning tower that seems to match Braenil's account of the collision. The dramatic story of Braenil ramming a U-boat suddenly looks a lot more plausible when you line up the logbooks with the steel on the seabed. It's a great example of how research, wreck diving and a bit of rust forensics can help solve a 100-year-old mystery. Braenil isn't the only encounter that needs a second look. There was also a famous report by SS Thordis that it rammed U6 in 1915. It was a great headline and an important one at that particular point in the war, except that U6 survived that year and was lost somewhere else entirely. Stories like this show how easy it was in wartime to overclaim submarine kills. Unless you can match German records, wreck evidence, logbooks, patrol areas, timelines, some of these kills quietly dissolve under scrutiny. What's actually true? Well, we can say with confidence that 4 ships were definitely sunk by civilian or merchant vessels, and almost certainly a 5th. Olympic was the only ocean liner though, but she wasn't the only civilian ship. And out on the seabed, wrecks like U-95 remind us that every claim has to survive a number of tests. The documents and the steel. War creates situations that would sound implausible in peacetime. Passenger liners used as rams. Cargo steamers turning it into impromptu submarine hunters. And fleeting decisions on a dark bridge deciding the fate of dozens of men below and above the surface. These incidents sit right on the edge between chaos and intent. Ordinary ships, crewed by mostly ordinary people, stumbling into extraordinary moments that history has almost forgotten. If this story of rammings and chance encounters has grabbed you, there's another collision worth your time. HMS M1, a British submarine lost in a peacetime accident that should never have happened. And if you want to keep going down the Periscope rabbit hole, there's a whole playlist of submarine videos on this channel, from U-boat wrecks to experimental designs, waiting for you to dive in next. For those with an interest in Titanic or Olympic, then I think you're going to love the interviews I've done with famous American diver Richie Kohler, where he shared exclusive video from inside the wreck of Britannic, 120 metres down in the Aegean Sea. It's absolutely amazing, and this is just a taste of what he's given me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Dom Robinson, Deep Wreck Diver, and I'll look forward to seeing you on my next video.